I am Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I am filming this Wednesday, 3 April 2024, and this is a hypothetical scenario of my paying off my student loans with an income of $78,000 per year. So this is going to be annual income of $78,000 per year. This would be approximately double the highest annual salary I have made to date. This video filmed Wednesday, 3 April 2024. So thus far in my life, I'd be about double. So the highest salary I have made in a year is approximately $39,000. This would be a lot of money for me. I'd be rich per my own self-standard. This jump right into it. Annual income / employer setup. So this is the scenario of $78,000 per year, employers and breakdown. So $40,000 a year from Noah Lyles, $20,000 a year from Zolan Sarkani, and $18,000 a year from Elia Karoun. And perhaps under the moniker or Galactic Materials, and Jacob Ingebrigtsen is part of that and can step in if want and or need be, or experimenting or something like that. And this would be housing, living with. So this is I'd be living with my soulmate and or soulmates scenario. I'm not as to where this is attempting to be abstracted and flexible, so it's not necessarily really a where so much as a what I have. For some context, when I was at the University of California, Berkeley, the salary maxed at about $39,000. Other benefits brought my total up to about $60,000 to $70,000 a year. So I had a tuition waiver in addition to health insurance, and it came out to like $60,000 or $70,000 a year. Some of us did the calculations. Some of us were a little depressed about the calculations because some of us were Americans, and Americans had out-of-state national income. If we weren't California residents, so we were required to sign up for residency, so we got the California in-state tuition, which wasn't all that much compared to international tuition. So some of the people who worked in the department like to say that the price tag for each student was $100,000 a year, which was wrong. That's like the average. The international students were worth a whole lot more, and those of us who were California residents and nationals, and U.S. citizens ours came out to about $60,000 to $70,000 a year. I actually did it sometime, and I was like, because people like to say $100,000, and I was like, that's the international student is $130,000 a year. I'm the $60,000 or $70,000 a year. So while I have not made $78,000 in 1 year for salary, I have had like benefits, so to speak, like tuition kind of thing. But no, so we can say my max has been about $75,000. So $78,000 would still be above the most I've made in income, entire package in a year. Okay, taxes. So for this example, this is really just like, okay, where would the money go? $78,000. 25%, let's say approximately, to taxes. And then of my remaining income, how much would I put towards student loans? So student loans can be like, choose a fixed amount of time or choose a fixed amount of your income, like percentage wise. So like if I make $78,000 a year and I'm living with my soulmate and or soulmates, and they are wealthy enough to cover a lot of the living expenses for us, then I would honestly do, I think 10% is like kind of standard. I would go for 25% because that would still take multiple years for me to pay off. For student loans, for this example, I would go with about 25% per, as I've described it. And I have approximately, currently, there's interest that continues to accrue, so this amount can change. It's approximately $45,000. So it would take me, so my remaining income, so what I'd get to live off of would be about $39,000 per year, which when I was working at California, Berkeley, and made that, University of California, Berkeley, and made that $39,000 a year. It would, after taxes, it came out, I think it was still above 30,000. So I'd be picking up where I left off. time frame for paying off my student loans, I did this, it was like over 2 years, but less than 3, if depending on how much interest accrues, right? So like the minimum, I started working yesterday kind of scenario, which I didn't, but would be less than 3 years, as long as I'm on top of interest. But so I would say, 2 to 5 years would be then the time frame, especially if something went wrong or I didn't get signed up for it in time, or or it takes time to get into the system or stuff like that. So time frame for paying off student loans, 2 to 5 years if I wanted to be like super safe of like, okay, 25% is too high, but I still want to get it done in a timely manner. 2 to 5, then adjust. So it might not be much of an adjustment, but adjust if need be. Lifestyle / hobbies during repayment period. So it's like, let's say, so when I was living in Hawaii, I still did running training, but running wasn't my main form of high intensity exercise. It was actually shadow boxing with, so it's like, well, I could actually, and especially if I'm living with Leon or Hubert or anybody who's based in a warm climate, be it Arizona or somewhere else, part of the year, might be worthwhile of doing, or I'm traveling a lot. So let's say I spend time with the Hungarian national football team, members of that, whether they're part of the national team or not, maybe they're clubs, maybe, whatever. So point being, let's say I travel a lot. Well, then road running might not be the best idea. I like having a fixed set. So instead of having to look up new routes every single day or something like that, is there something else I could do for high intensity? Right? And I might not have access to a gym, so to speak. So it's like, well, I could phase boxing back in, right? Shadow boxing, but also like, some of these people might have boxing as part of their training. Can I box you, Dominique? Sebastian? Leon, my shot? Fencing. So there's a fencing, or at least there used to be, whether or not there is or not, there's a fencing club at Northgate, my home neighborhood in Seattle. There was at some point in time. So I could, some of my income could go towards fencing, right? Especially once one has the equipment for fencing, right? Then it becomes, maybe I'm at Arizona State University and at swim practice and I'm on the pool deck and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a 10-minute break or something like that, or I need to stretch my legs, and so I do some fencing technique on the bulkhead as the swimmers swim, that kind of getting creative. Okay, was that creative? Not really. It's actually the perfect line. Right, whereas fencing is done like in a very narrow strip, so it's kind of not creative whatsoever. But, also, so it would be like, a wild woman's dream, so to speak, procuring samples for my alma mater, the University of California, Berkeley, not them. The University of Hawaii at Manoa, at least, and if I become a sample procurer in like geology or whatever, but maybe archaeology wants a sample from a quarry or something like that. Start with my alma mater. And if there are other requests, right, if we're talking about like serious pastime, so I've done geology field work for like my lifestyle pastime of my own initiative in my spare time. So like maybe actually doing something with that. Does anybody have a list of rocks they want? Like if I collide or I have time or that kind of stuff. I never know where my travels will take me. So that could be that, right? Some balance of that. Not necessarily a lot, because that would be but some stuff would be covered. And then lifestyle changes once the student loans are paid off. So not technically a rebound, as I have not made this much before in annual salary. So it'd be more of an adjustment. Like, do I even add anything new? Is there any new equipment I want? Do I take and save a lot of that new income? There'd be a bit of an adjustment period for me after paying off the student loans, because then all of a sudden 25% of that $78,000 I can have again, or not again, I can have for the first time, kind of thing. And so then, that's a chunk of change, so to speak, with that's almost $20,000 more per year that I actually get to see, like in pocket. So it may or may not change, kind of thing. And it might just take an adjustment. Like maybe I do save some of it. Maybe I do add a pastime or kind of shake things up a little bit. Maybe there's a bunch of rocks a bunch of us want in a certain place that I'm like, well, that might be an expensive trip. Maybe I start my heritage travel trip series, right? Now that I have enough income and I'm not busy all the time and strapped down and have the burden of like paying off the student loans. Student loans are paid off. Maybe I go on my heritage travel trip series. And then last thing, YouTube projects and video frequency during repayment and post repayment. Well, if I'm working that much and stuff, well, I guess that would continue after. It's just I see more income. So if the income, seeing more of my income counts as like being more relaxed, then the video frequency, like I might not do my heritage travels trip series while I'm repaying student loans because I'm a little bit stressed. I just want to make my payments each month, or kind of thing, or however frequently it is. And so there's a bit of just kind of push to get that through, and then the finance. I don't want student loans paying off finances, and then also like kind of the finances of the heritage travel trip series. Not saying I wouldn't do it, just saying that's like stress, financial stress upon financial stress. So if it really is only a 2 to 5 year repayment period, if I could make that work, maybe it's wise to keep the stress levels down and just wait. So then for those videos, video frequency would be not very much of the actual like during trip and planning, potentially, but not necessarily, more later. And then it might be flurries, right? I may, like, depending on if there's YouTube non-monetizer income, right, is some of what I'm earning already like, okay, here we want you to work on some of this for your YouTube stuff as part of your salary and that kind of stuff. I don't know, and maybe that's not something the first year, maybe that's later, so maybe there's like a multi-month hiatus, right? Where I'm just swamped and I'm like, I don't have time to post. In which case, maybe my videos, I fight back against that of like not posting, period, to be like, well, maybe I'll work on a video for this playlist, right? I have a bunch of playlists, play to the strengths of my channel of, well, since I have this, is there something I want to put out for this playlist as opposed to like YouTube, be like, what have I worked on in the past? And so it might be very small targeted working, and then once paid off, kind of rebound, but it'll kind of be balanced. We'll see, right? I would guess that depends potentially a little bit more actually on my lifestyle than actually paying off student loans, because for all I know, if I'm super strapped down and doing a whole lot less in my spare time, then the frequency might actually be more during repayment and less after, that kind of thing. So there we go. That's a hypothetical scenario of my paying off my student loans with an income of $78,000 per year. Again, I am Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and this is a hypothetical. It'd be cool if it became an actual, but either way, filming this today, Wednesday, 3 April 2024.